G'day everybody. Today I'm going to do just a little video about national service. The subject's come up again. I've already done a video about this before, but the subject has come up again in England or Britain. And I was on a podcast last night talking to an Australian soldier, or retired Australian soldier, and we were talking about the same subject. He's all for it. There was people who got involved in the live chat, and it seems like there's a lot of encouragement and a lot of positive perspectives on bringing back a national service. We used to have one, and it's probably mixed on depending on who you talk to about whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, but I don't think it's a good thing if they're only doing it because they're leading us into war. Okay, but I'm all for it. I think it's something that we should have all of the time. I don't believe it should be able to replace, to a large extent, the dole or welfare, wherever you come from in the world, whatever you call that. I think it's something that our youth is lacking and our young people are lacking, but also older people like myself. And this is what I want to bring into it. For people like me who would love to serve, but for whatever reason we couldn't serve, I don't want to be left out. I'm probably not of the right age and physical ability to get into a national service now. I'm 46 and I've got broken things all over my body and my eyesight's pretty much gone and things like that. But this is where we have an opportunity right now. Nothing's concrete. Nothing's really been said too much by our government. However, one thing for certain is we shouldn't have forced conscription. I think that should be ruled out. I think national service is potentially a really good thing, and a national service scheme for people long-term unemployed. There should be no getting around it. Everybody should have to chip in and do their little bit. But I think there should also be a civilian service, a volunteer service that runs parallel with the national service for people of my age, younger or older, that have something to contribute, that want to give their time, want to upskill. I think it's like we just can't lose. It's just a win-win. And it doesn't all have to be about guns and shooting and military. You know, I see a perfect opportunity here to run along the parallels of the rural fire, the SES, State Emergency Service, and people from there, they can upskill and go in different directions. Some heading towards military, some heading towards health and hospitals and things like that. But if I believe that there should be a couple of different levels. So I think that anything that's and instead of the government freaking out and everyone thinking that it costs too much money and it's too hard, no, that's the wrong way to think about it. We should be thinking about it in a way of how do we save money? Can we make money from it? Can we turn it into an industry? And I think that you can bring all of these things into it to make it a scheme, an industry of sorts, you know. So I think there should be a couple of different tiers to this, and maybe the full volunteer side of it should be self-funded with benefits. So whether the government invests money from the government itself, or whether they look to the private sector to invest into this? Should there be loan schemes? Should there be stimuluses for those people who have reached an X amount of time, a volunteer time? Should they be then eligible for stimulus packages, loans, tax incentives, access to housing, access to land, other benefits in those areas where it's not government funded, so we're not wasting, because we need to keep the government out of it, because the government ruin everything. And they put all of this, they put way too much red tape, too many hurdles, and nothing ever gets off the ground. So we need a volunteer thing on the bottom tiers, but then those bottom tiers can mesh alongside a national service. And then the national service can be a feeder that can, from there, can be a feeder to the professional emergency services, whether that's ambulance, fire, police, Army Reserve, Army, Air Force, Navy, Border Force. So I think if we get this right, there's an opportunity to make this really good, make it good for the country, make it good for defence, make it good for unity and bringing people together, upskilling people, motivation. A lot of the people, as it sits right now, it's so hard to get into the Defence Force or the Army Reserves. The fitness requirements and the criteria, along with the education standards and all that, it's too high for most people. And then of that, you've got colour blindness, lots of types of physical injuries of all descriptions, and then age as well. So really, the Defence Force is limited to such a tiny percentage of eligible Australians that the pool of people who A, are willing, B, are fit and able, and C, who want to actually do it, is pretty small compared to the rest of the population. And we have a massive continent, and our population is only small anyway. We've got 27 million people-ish for a huge continent, around with a country the size of China or North America sort of size, with a coastline that goes the whole way around that. We are lucky we don't share borders, but we have a huge coastline. We have other islands and maritime issues or interests. And with our population, with a tiny little army of 70-ish thousand people right now, we don't manufacture basically anything at all. It's a recipe for disaster. We can turn this around. And what I'm hoping from this is, if we expand this on a proper scale, and we get serious and we want to look after the country and defend the country, but then also look after our communities as well, and unite the nation, unite the people, get people together, I think it's priceless. It's a win-win situation. And to get a production, we can manufacture ourselves out of problems. But to do that, we need a demand. And by having a rural, by swelling the numbers of the rural fire, the SES, State Emergency Service, and a national service, there's going to be uniforms and boots and water bottles, hats and backpacks and all sorts of things that go along with those requirements. So that's going to open up industry, and it can open it up even more. And then if we have a volunteer service that's attached to that, maybe a civilian defence force as well, a volunteer one, or a sub-branch of the national service could be a militia, then that's going to require more equipment, which is going to mean more manufacturing. So that's that.